They put their lives on the line and fought for the United States only to get deported to Mexico. It's the story of Hispanic immigrants who served in the military but could not enjoy the American dream. I'm Elaine Reyes in Washington, D.C., and this is America's Now. First up, military veterans of the United States who are not U.S. citizens being deported after committing a crime. It's happened to over 200 combatants, and most are from Mexico.
You have to just find a way, because if you don't find a way, if you don't, then all these people that count on me, if I don't find a way, all these people that count on me, I'm going to let them down.
Correspondent Mike Kirsch reports on these deported vets. He'll tell us what happens to them once they leave the U.S. and if their deportations can be reversed. Next, a woman in Colombia who's helping families in need of assistance through bartering. People with little money can exchange goods and services for other goods and services at her barter banks. From Bogota, meet this week's game changer, Jacqueline Moreno. And later, on Ecuador's highest mountain, glaciers are receding, and a way of life is vanishing as well. Correspondent Harris Whitbeck reports on the last iceman of Chimborazo. Welcome to the show. Many Mexican immigrants joined the U.S. military and fought in wars on behalf of the country. But they were soldiers, not citizens, because they were never officially naturalized, and they later found out they had no legal protection against being deported if they committed a crime. Their supporters say the real crime is how the U.S. government could deport them in the first place after risking their lives to protect and defend the United States. America's Now correspondent Mike Kirsch reports.
Several thousand Latino-American military veterans risked their lives fighting America's wars. Many not even full-fledged U.S. citizens, but green card holders hoping to earn their U.S. citizenship by serving in the military. Men like retired U.S. Army combat veteran Mauricio Hernandez. His 160 missions in Afghanistan earned him medals for bravery and an honorable discharge. But not long after he returned home to the U.S., authorities here in San Diego, California, found drugs and a gun in his car one night, for which he would be convicted and sentenced to a year behind bars. Then he was deported to his birthplace, Mexico.
I don't know, man. I see home so close and yet so far away, like I could reach out and touch it. And I can't. Like I could grab my little girl and walk down the beach.
Mauricio's mother, Ana, visits him and his young family here in Tijuana once a week from her home in San Diego, just north of the border. She brought Mauricio here shortly after he was born. Says he was a good kid in school, who escaped gang-ridden neighborhood, she says, by joining the U.S. Army. And she says she was outraged that after risking his life in Afghanistan, Mauricio could be so swiftly deported.
I am upset. I'm sorry. I am angry. He is only one of the many who fight for our freedom.
Mauricio Hernandez is one of at least 240 deported American military veterans, most of them from Mexico. The cases of 59 of them recently documented in a human rights report called Discharged, Then Discarded, authored by the American Civil Liberties Union, a leading nonprofit human rights watchdog in the United States. Many veterans were kicked out of the U.S. for drug-related crimes considered aggravated felonies. Most assumed they had become naturalized U.S. citizens when they joined the U.S. military and had protections against deportation. Many have serious medical ailments, from diabetes to post-traumatic stress disorder. Ailments, they say, are going untreated because the U.S. government denies them access to U.S. veterans' hospitals north of the border. One such veteran, Jose Solario, needed a lung transplant, but U.S. immigration officials denied him a temporary humanitarian visa that he needed to have the transplant done in a U.S. veterans hospital. And by the time the U.S. government reversed its decision and issued Solario a visa, American doctors said he was too far gone to have surgery. He slipped into a coma and died shortly afterward. Other deported veterans profiled in the ACLU report include U.S. Marine Corps veteran Enrique Salas, who CCTV met at a support group established for deported U.S. veterans here in Tijuana.
From the time I was 10 years old, I dreamt about being a Marine, you know? So...
Why?
I just liked that commercial they had.
The few, the proud, the Marines.
Climbs up the mountain at the very top of the mountain, he places the flag.
Enrique, like other Mexican-American vets, came to the U.S. from Mexico at a young age with his parents. Parents who let Enrique follow his dream to join the Marines.
My parents signed my contract when I was 16. Once I joined the Marine Corps, I mean, like, by what the recruiter told me and everything else, I mean, I was a U.S. citizen, you know?
What did
I mean, he says, as soon as you join the Marine Corps, sign this contract, you know, you're going to take an oath and you become a U.S. citizen.
Enrique served honorably during the first Persian Gulf War in 1991. Around that same period, his younger brother Gilberto followed Enrique into the Marine Corps, but was killed in a training accident shortly thereafter.
I think I have that survivor's remorse. And I think that's been my biggest...
Enrique says he turned to alcohol and drugs to deaden his pain. From a user of drugs, Enrique would later be caught selling them, methamphetamine. In 2004, he was convicted of an aggravated felony and sentenced to 1 year behind bars. When he got out of jail, he says he never again committed another crime. He got a job as a mechanic and dedicated his life, he says, to his children.
So then I continue with my life, you know?
Paying taxes?
Paying taxes every day, every year, you know?
2 years later, in 2006, while returning from a family visit to Tijuana, Enrique says U.S. border agents discovered his felony conviction and detained him in front of one of his young daughters.
When they detained me at the border, she was with me, you know, and it's like they handcuffed me like a common criminal. Like, I mean, I did something 2 years ago. I paid my time. Why would you do this to me, you know?
The American Civil Liberties Union argues that Enrique Salas and other deported veterans like him should be returned immediately to the United States and granted citizenship. Though current U.S. immigration law may make that difficult, says Marguerite Telford of the nonprofit Center for Immigration Studies in Washington, D.C.
They need to apply for citizenship. When they committed their crime, if they'd been citizens, they wouldn't have been deported. We are a nation of laws, and that's what the law says.
Daniel Torres is a deported U.S. Marine who served in Iraq but was discharged and returned to Mexico when it was discovered he was not an American citizen when he joined the Marines, that he had falsified his birth certificate. Today, as a law student in Tijuana, Daniel says his goal is to get deportations overturned by arguing that vets cannot be punished twice. In other words, first imprisoned for their crimes, then deported. What's known in legal terms, he says, as double jeopardy.
These guys, they got arrested, they served their time, they got out, and then they still got deported. So they're facing a double jeopardy. They're facing a double jeopardy. And it's just not fair. It's not right.
The law is the law. And as it stands right now, you have to become a citizen. And, you know, and we make it really easy. It's very easy to do.
The Department of Defense tells CCTV that for veterans, becoming a citizen is simply a matter of downloading readily available forms from a website, and that deported veterans could have prevented being deported had they just filled out citizenship forms, even while they were still serving overseas.
And the military is very good about telling people who are serving what the rules are, what the process is. You have to take some responsibility.
But some deported veterans claim that recruiters informed them that they had become instantly naturalized as American citizens when they took their military oath.
I took the oath when I joined the Marine Corps, the oath that every service member takes, you know. I pledge to uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States. This is basically the same oath that a U.S. citizen takes, right? A naturalized U.S. citizen, right?
Other vets have said they were too emotionally overwhelmed at the time with life in the military, away from their families, or busy fighting in war zones to go online and navigate the process of becoming a U.S. citizen.
There are 17 parts to the application, and the application is 21 pages long.
A lot of these guys, they have mental health issues. They have a lot of emotional problems that stem from their military service. Anything from PTSD to drug abuse.
Deported Veterans Supporthouse.org.
Many deported veterans here in Tijuana commiserate with one another here at a nonprofit support center called the Deported Veterans Support House, also known as the Bunker.
We're working with the ACLU. They're
founded by deported U.S. Army 82nd Airborne paratrooper Hector Barajas.
A lot of the people that we're working with, deported veterans, are people who served legally in the United States Army or Marine Corps, Navy, and all the way from the Vietnam War to guys that are coming back from Iraq and Afghanistan that were deported because of some type of criminal conviction after their military service.
Barajas taking calls almost daily, he says, from journalists around the world, often inquiring about his only child living in Los Angeles, Lily.
How often do you get to see her?
Sometimes, the good thing is we have communication via phone and Skype. Okay, love you. Kissy kiss. I was deported in 2004 for a discharge of a firearm in the state of California.
In other words, he fired a gun from a moving car, say police, as a then 25-year-old Hector Barajas out joyriding with friends in Los Angeles back in 2002. He served 2 years in prison and was then deported. Learned the hard way that he had never become a citizen automatically just by joining the military.
I thought I was a citizen. Eventually I did do my homework, and I was not a U.S. citizen. I started the process, but I didn't follow through on it. So citizenship was never pushed. I was never counseled. So I feel, yeah, I dropped the ball, and then I have a personal responsibility, as a personal responsibility as well.
Yeah.
At the age of 72, Andy De Leon is one of the oldest living deported veterans here in Tijuana, a Vietnam vet. He lives alone on the east side of town. He says the only contact he has for the most part with his 9 grandchildren back in the U.S. are these photographs of them on his wall. Not only has Andy been deported, he says the U.S. government refuses to pay him thousands of dollars, he says, in Social Security benefits he's earned as a taxpayer in the United States over 4 decades.
And I'm an old man, I need my money, I can't find me a job anymore, I'm too old to find a job.
He says the crime he committed back in the day that put him here is drug possession.
They say aggravated felony. I mean, I didn't rob a bank, I didn't blow up a federal building, I didn't kill nobody. But simply possession of drugs, I don't think it's an aggravated felony.
What's your biggest fear?
My biggest fear is dying here, have nobody to bury me. Because they just throw me in a hole in the ground and forget, they don't even put a marker there for who died there. They just throw me in a trench and cover me up with dirt, and that's the end of the line, you know. Nobody will ever know where I'm at.
People don't know that the things that I did and other men did catch bad guys, and people didn't think I was bad then. Nobody wanted to deport me then.
To learn more about Mauricio Hernandez, CCTV recently traveled north to San Francisco, California.
He's a very good guy.
To speak with one of Mauricio's fellow trenchmates in Afghanistan, retired U.S. Army veteran Matt Wiseman.
When I heard that Mauricio got deported, I was shocked.
Matt's one of several American-born soldiers who served with Mauricio in Afghanistan and who've written testimony about Mauricio's desire to return to the United States.
I don't think people should lose their citizenship, though, if they served their country for 5 years. because of a nonviolent felony. I don't think that his country served him well in deporting him back to Mexico.
Mauricio is one of thousands of U.S. military veterans diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder after witnessing so much carnage and human suffering in places like Iraq and Afghanistan, causing severe emotional suffering among veterans that the U.S. government's own recent report says is widely responsible for the suicides of 20 American veterans per day on average in the United States. 20 suicides per day. Mauricio has attempted suicide twice. And despite what he says is his desperate need for psychological counseling, the United States government recently denied Mauricio's petition for a humanitarian visa to seek treatment in the United States for his PTSD and for treatment for what he describes as debilitating anger issues that he says followed him home after seeing so much war abroad.
All I still have is anger because there's just so much of it, it's like living in a sandstorm where you can't see your hand in front of your face. And then you have to just find a way, because if you don't find a way, if you don't, then all these people that count on me, if I don't find a way, all these people that count on me, I'm going to let them down. I'm going to let them down. I'm going to let my wife down, my daughter down, my mom down. And I'm a reliable person. I don't like letting people down. You know? I want to be the best husband for my wife, the best father for my daughter, the best son for my mother, the best brother for my brother.
The United States of America has to be responsible for all these men.
She says she finds it unconscionable how the U.S. government can turn its back, she says, on Mauricio and his PTSD that she believes is a direct result of all the killing he was trained to do to defend American interests abroad.
The United States of America trained him to become an assassin. But that assassin is my son. And my son has the right, he earned it, to return to the United States.
Those deported vets whose children remain in the United States say that not being there to watch their kids grow up is in effect a third punishment for their crime after imprisonment and deportation. And perhaps they say it's the cruelest punishment of all. You think about your kids a lot?
Oh, every day.
What do you think about?
Miss them.
You were telling me about your youngest daughter's birthday yesterday, just across the border in San Diego.
It was pretty tough yesterday. My daughter's birthday, you know, I wanted to hug her.
Deported veterans here in Tijuana live off donations dropped off at the bunker and from whatever other jobs they can find around the city. The average weekly wage here is less than $100 a week. Mauricio Hernandez has found some work as a mixed martial arts trainer for troubled youth here in Tijuana, but rarely charges them. And then, of course, there is navigating Mexico's well-known security issues with drug gangs and other criminals on the streets.
After dark, yeah, there's about 80% chance you're going to get robbed.
Just how soon, if ever, any of these deported veterans will make it back to the U.S. remains unclear. Immigration laws in the U.S. will have to change for their deportations to be reversed. Though there was some hope recently when the U.S. government permitted deported vet Daniel Torres to be sworn in as a naturalized U.S. citizen. determining in the end that his only offense of lying about his citizenship in order to join the U.S. Marine Corps does not warrant deportation. In the meantime, other vets here wait. A few years back, Hector Barajas and some of his fellow deported veterans began painting a mural on the Mexican side of the U.S.-Mexico border wall, with the names of many of the veterans deported here, to honor them, says Hector, and for their children to remember them. For all the deported veterans who remain stuck here, like Hector Barajas, Enrique Salas, Andy De Leon, and Mauricio Hernandez, they hope they might get a favorable ruling one day themselves and be returned to the United States for another shot, another chance at life in America.
I just want that shot to prove that I'm worth taking that chance on. That we are worth taking that chance on.
Deported veterans hope outgoing U.S. President Barack Obama will reverse or commute their expulsions with a presidential pardon before leaving office. Obama has now commuted 184 prison sentences in the United States during his 2 terms, more than the combined number by those granted by America's last 6 presidents.
Coming up.
Bartering for a better life in Bogota.
Quiero construir un mundo que a mí me guste.
I want to build another world, one that I like and inspires the world of others.
Y que sea un mundo que inspire a otros mundos.
America's Now.
Welcome back. Before there was money, there was the barter system. The exchange of goods and services between people has been used around the world for thousands of years. One Colombian woman is implementing this tradition in the most unlikely way as she uses it to make dreams come true in some of Bogota's most neglected communities. Jacqueline Moreno is this week's Game Changer.
Cuando tú tienes 5 hijos y tienes una cantidad de problemas encima económicos y eres desplazado y tienes todos esos conflictos, finalmente tú dices, yo no tengo nada para darle al mundo, el mundo me tiene que dar a mí. Mi nombre es Jacqueline Moreno, directora de la Fundación La Voz de Sinfontes y creadora de los bancos del trueque. Quiero construir un mundo que a mí me guste, un mundo que yo esté a gusto con él y que sea un mundo que inspire a otros mundos. Y eso fue lo que tal vez me llevó a crear todo el sistema de la filosofía del trueque. El trueque deja de ser un simple intercambio de beneficios y se vuelve protagonista en una construcción de vidas y sueños. Llegué tarde. A William le habían dado 3 puñaladas en un pulmón y había muerto. Eran las 11 de la mañana y William entró, estaba ahí en su cajoncito de segunda mano. Me quedé mirando ese salón y no habían dolientes, no había nadie en quien extrañar a William. Yo no sabía si realmente se llamaba William. Entonces, y 11 años tenía William. Entonces me cansé, ese hecho hizo que hiciera un clic en mi vida y pensara, esto no puede ser posible, yo no quiero que esto pase a un ser humano. La razón es no regalar nada, sino llevar servicios como la educación, como tenemos emisoras comunitarias, tenemos periódicos, tenemos todo el tema de becas para las universidades, comedor, teatro, y todo eso tiene un costo. Entonces no queríamos ser una organización que regale. Por lo tanto dijimos, ¿qué podemos hacer para que esto sea diferente en el mundo? Entonces cogimos todo lo que es el conocimiento de la banca tradicional, los bancos del mundo, y montamos un banco del trueque. Entonces cualquier persona llega al banco del trueque porque necesita dejar sus hijos en la escuela infantil, ¿no? Pero tiene que pagar. Pero las personas dicen, ¿pero cómo pago si no tengo nada? Entonces paga con una habilidad, o paga con un talento, o paga con un trueque personal.
Estoy trabajando con el medio ambiente, con el área del medio ambiental. Y los estoy apoyando con las clases de sistemas para los...
Existen los libros del trueque, que son los libros que contabilizan cuántas habilidades, talentos y sueños hay en las comunidades y podemos intercambiar.
Ahí estaba la M. Ahí estaba la M. Ahí va la M. Se enamoraron el maricón.
Me siento mejor pagando y que no me regalen nada. Entonces en ese momento el empezar a cancelar el trueque, empecé a dar un refuerzo escolar y vi que identifiqué que tenía muchas habilidades para ayudar a los niños para enseñarle a los adultos a leer y escribir. Entonces ya me sentía tan feliz que no fue solamente el ir a tomar la formación de sistemas, sino que ya me quise quedar pues ahí en la fundación. Bueno, pues yo creo que el primero es dignificarse uno como persona, que uno no necesita que nadie le regale nada ni que le diga un pobrecito. De los procesos de la fundación, ¿no? Si tú crees en las capacidades que tienes y las puedes brindar a otras personas, ¿por qué no hacerlo? ¿Por qué no decir, bueno, ya no necesito que me regalen nada? Yo soy capaz de, así no sea con dinero, puedo brindar trabajo, puedo brindar mis conocimientos a otras personas, puedo ayudarle a cuidar el hijo de una persona que está estudiando. Entonces yo creo que es más como un hábito que uno debe tomar dentro de su misma comunidad.
Me encantaría ver muchos bancos en muchas vainas y mucho equilibrio social. No equilibrio económico, mira que ni siquiera eso me importa, sino que aquella persona que está ya pensando que todos los títulos universitarios o que su caja fuerte hace la diferencia con una persona de otro lado, está totalmente equivocada. Si esa persona reconoce que puede mirar al otro y decir, somos de igual a igual, no importa dónde hayamos nacido, ese día el mundo será diferente.
Jacqueline has been recognized in Colombia for her work. She was named Leading Woman for 2013 by an organization that recognizes inspirational women. She's also been invited to more than a dozen countries to present her barter banks with pop-ups in Spain and Germany. We'd love to have your input, so if you know someone who's helping change the world, drop us a line at an@cctv-america.com or tweet us at cctv_America and tell us about a game changer you would like to see on America's Now.
Coming up.
The last days of an ice merchant in Ecuador.
Este proceso natural ha sido alterado por la actividad del hombre.
This natural process has been accelerated by man. We have seen this since the industrial era.
Comenzó lo que se llama era industrial, ¿no? Entonces a partir de ahí se ha podido observar
America's Now.
Welcome back to America's Now. If you measure the distance from its peak to the center of the Earth, the Chimborazo mountain in Ecuador is the highest on Earth. It'd even be higher than Mount Everest. But its massive size does not make it immune to the destructive effects of climate change. Correspondent Harris Whitbag takes us to the shrinking glaciers of Chimborazo and reports how it's affecting the people whose lives have been linked to it for decades.
He has been doing this for 60 years. Ever since he was 12 years old, Gregorio Ushka has climbed to an elevation of 5,000 meters every week, taking a pick, a shovel, and a burro to harvest ice from the Chimborazo Glacier to sell in the market below. A tradition that started in colonial times when refrigeration was non-existent and carried on by fathers and sons for hundreds of years.
Mi finado papito había estado hielero. No sé qué años, de qué tiempo tan sería hielero. Mi finado papito ha sido hielero. Mi papá era cabecita blanco, ojito gato tenía, blanco purito. Mi papito, como dijeron, herencia de él. Nosotros, como criábamos ahí en este trabajo, hasta ahora seguimos trabajando.
There was a time when ice from the Chimborazo Glacier was a prized commodity in Riobamba, the bustling town at the foot of the mountain. It had mystical qualities as the mountain it comes from is considered sacred. People would travel long distances to buy a frozen, crystal-clear chunk of ice. Today, it is mostly a novelty, used to make ice slushes and in fruit juices in the market. Gregorio still makes the trek to the glacier once a week, earning about $10 per trip. Each time, he says, it is more difficult. He has to climb higher because the glacier is retreating. Scientists say the retreat on Chimborazo is undeniable. Bolívar Cáceres has been studying the mountain and its glacier for decades.
Por ejemplo, para el año de 1997, en el Chimborazo teníamos alrededor de 11.9 kilómetros cuadrados. En el 2011, esto se redujo a 9.8 y para este año, para el 2016, que estoy realizando la evaluación, está en el orden del 8.2 kilómetros cuadrados. Entonces, de 1997 a 2016 hemos tenido una reducción del 12%. Entonces, es un periodo de tiempo relativamente corto con una gran pérdida de la cobertura glaciar.
A natural process, they say, that has been accelerated by man.
Este proceso natural ha sido alterado por la actividad del hombre y esto es lo que se ha podido observar desde que comenzó lo que se llama era industrial, ¿no? Entonces, a partir de ahí se ha podido observar, los colegas que realizan estudios sobre el clima, todo eso, que las condiciones climáticas del planeta han cambiado, y con incrementos de temperatura, cambios en la precipitación, todo eso, en parte asociado a la actividad humana. Entonces hay que tener claro que es un proceso natural que ha sido afectado por la actividad del hombre, pero también existen fenómenos que nosotros no controlamos, que son propios de la naturaleza. Por ejemplo, una variación en el aspecto de la radiación solar, ocurrencia de erupciones a nivel de la corona del Sol, grandes erupciones volcánicas, son procesos naturales que afectan la evolución natural de los glaciares.
Más antes era como ayer, más frío era, cosa que hasta el burrito moría congelando con frío. burrito no aguantaba frío, entonces ahí moría burrito. Cristiano, bueno, hace arrepado, bueno, no sentimos mucho, pero siempre era más antes muy terrible frío, como más de ayer. Sí, así era, antes era más frío, pero ahora ya un poquito más frío, más escaso y antes nevando también hasta abajo, donde que vivían nosotros, hasta allá llegaba y el nevado, tapando todos los granos, todo, como quedaba blanco, como granitos también tapado, todito así bajaba. Ahora ya está Chimborazo poco manso ya, no es como antes ya, así es.
Está poco manso el Chimborazo.
Poco manso es Chimborazo, ya no es como antes, muy terrible.
Ese es un páramo. Era páramo, se llama páramo por la altura.
Marco Cruz knows Chimborazo as few people do. Like Gregorio, he grew up with the mountain, climbing it for the first time at the age of 13.
Emoción infinita, desconocida, que hasta ahora mismo no me puedo explicar lo que sentí. Completamente diferente. Nunca antes había sentido esa emoción de hacer algo completamente diferente, y más que nada de esa oportunidad me hizo que yo me encuentre a mí mismo y que se defina mi vida. Ese día que yo subí al Chimborazo, quise ser guía de montaña. Llegué a ser guía de montaña, vivir como guía de montaña y soñar como guía de montaña y hacer de esta pasión de la montaña mi profesión, mi forma de vida, mi ser, mi filosofía de vida.
As a mountain guide, he has summited Chimborazo more than 1,000 times. He reveres the mountain as a sacred place.
El Ecuador es un sitio muy importante. Fue una huaca, es una huaca. Huaca es un lugar sagrado. Es uno de los importantes lugares sagrados del mundo andino. Es un sitio dador de vida. Los pueblos andinos del área y del mundo andino, el Chimborazo era el sitio sagrado donde que hacían sacrificios de llamas, de alpacas y de niñas en las capacuchas para tener agua, para tener fertilidad en los campos, en los animales, buenas cosechas. Cuando no eran buenos, cuando no se portaban bien en la sociedad o con la naturaleza, pues los dioses y los espíritus ancestrales les castigaban.
And he too sees it changing drastically.
Sí, bueno, yo vivo aquí en Chimborazo, estrechamente relacionado con la montaña y con el paisaje del Chimborazo, más de 50 años. Y hay cambios muy grandes. Primeramente se ven los glaciares que se han retrocedido. También el gran cambio se ve en la parte ecológica. Todos estos terrenos que vemos hace 40 años eran páramo, no estaba destrozado. Hoy día ya no existe el páramo, están dedicados al cultivo y eso también ha redundado en el cambio climático, porque llueve menos. El páramo es un importante ecosistema que mantiene el agua, que produce agua, y al destrozar la vegetación originaria, eso ha hecho que las fuentes de agua disminuyan y disminuya el equilibrio del páramo con el agua.
Marco knows the way of life of the iceman like Gregorio is disappearing as the glacier does as well.
Esto es una costumbre colonial. Probablemente en el siglo XVII, esta costumbre los españoles aprendieron de los romanos y de los árabes en la península. Y cuando vinieron acá ya bien desarrollada la colonia, impusieron como un trabajo obligatorio, como una micha, para bajar el hielo para consumo humano, para hacer helados, para mantener los alimentos. Y era muy común en todos los Andes.
He fears the fragile ecosystem that surrounds the mountain itself could also disappear.
Y eso nosotros nos hemos olvidado, creemos que somos dueños de todo. Nuestra estupidez es muy grande, creemos que con la tecnología, con nuestra vanidad somos dueños de la naturaleza, dueños de todo. Pues no respetamos la naturaleza, no respetamos a las personas, no respetamos las creencias. Antes la gente tenía miedo, ahora no creemos que no tenemos miedo de nada.
And that summits and official meetings on how to tackle global warming mean little to the people of Chimborazo.
Pero vean a nivel mundial en todas estas reuniones internacionales en Kioto, en Río de Janeiro, en París, más que nada quedan en habladurías, en buenas intenciones, nada más. Aquí ustedes vieron, ustedes son testigos del cambio, de los efectos del cambio climático. En un día que estuvieron en el Chimborazo, la pobreza que hay, la falta de agua. Todos los campos esos que nosotros recorrimos no hay agua. Y todos estos cambios climáticos a nivel mundial, es verdad que es cíclico, pero nosotros hemos acelerado. Especialmente aquí en el Ecuador, claro, no contaminamos mucho en el Ecuador, pero hemos destrozado los ecosistemas del bosque tropical, los bosques subtropicales de los flancos de la cordillera y el páramo.
Gregorio also knows times have changed and that he might very well be the last iceman of Chimborazo.
Yo creo que no, porque como ahí es frío y lejos, caminada y para sacar hielo no es como antes, no piden los señores de Ciudad de Ribamba. Antes que hieleros bastante tuvíamos entregar a Ciudad de Ribamba. Antes no había congelador, ni refrigerador, no había. Ahora, como esa máquina aquí, cada casa tiene. Ahí mismo pondita o baldecita pone, ahí saca hielo y ratito, mismo casa. Pero antes no había eso. No creo que entre nosotros hermanos nomás creo que estamos, ya moremos. Entre dos hermanos creo que van a quedar así. No creo que van a abrir hielero. No le utiliza, no le quiere trabajar. Bueno, tenemos hijos, nietos, pero ellos no quieren trabajar. Por lo frío, por lo lejos que andaba, negocio tan barato.
Change that seems inevitable on one of the highest mountains on Earth.
Chimborazo continues to receive a lot of interest from scientists, tourists, and professional mountain climbers. And while the glacier isn't as big as it once was, it is still a crucial link in the ecosystem of the entire continent.
Coming up.
A female sommelier in Mexico City making wine the toast of the town.
Yo fui una de las primeras en empezar a
I was a pioneer for connecting women and wine, a pioneer for being a female leader in a man's
una
industry.
mujer liderando una industria que hizo fama.
America's Now.
Welcome back. Indians dominate the wine industry, but the only person to hold the top 3 Society of Wine Educators is a woman. Sandra Fernandez is one of Mexico's most well-known sommeliers. She spent the last 20 years as a wine enthusiast, pushing and promoting Mexican wines. Sandra is this week's Urban Voice.
Sandra Fernandez found her passion over a glass of wine.
El vino es una magia líquida, es una bebida que te puede llevar a diferentes lugares, te puede relajar, te puede excitar, te puede poner en un estado meditativo. Yo creo que hay vinos para toda ocasión también. Si encuentras esos sabores del terroir, empiezas esos sabores de la tierra, del suelo, del clima, de las cosas que le dan vida a la vid y que detrás de ella está la naturaleza.
Mexico hasn't been promoting itself as a wine region for a long time, but winemaking has a long tradition in the country, as enologist Daniel Elmira explains.
México se identifica mucho con el mezcal, con el tequila, en la parte de historia del vino mexicano. Y bueno, desde 1517, después que llegó el señor Cortés, en fin, que trajeron vinos españoles, ya había cultura de vino acá, los indígenas ya después hicieron diferentes cantidades de plantaciones, entonces hay una cultura, es un tema de erradicar un poco el tema del malinchismo, ¿verdad? De pensar de que en México no puede hacerse un gran vino.
There has been a shift in the Mexican mindset fomented by projects like Vinícola Urbana, an urban winery in the middle of Mexico City.
El objetivo principal es generar la cultura del vino y principalmente la cultura del vino mexicano. Y acá hacemos todo el proceso de vinificación. A esas nuevas generaciones darle esto, ¿no? Darle esta cultura del vino, que aprendan qué hay atrás de una botella de vino.
Mexico earned a spot as an up-and-coming wine-producing country during the last decade. Promising winemakers pairing up with upscale restaurants need ambitious sommeliers to deliver food and wine, like Sandra Fernandez.
El área de sommeliería ha estado en manos de hombres durante mucho tiempo y yo creo que sigue estando. Hace 15 años no había sommeliers mujeres en México. Yo fui una de las primeras en empezar a relacionar el vino con el feminismo y no malentendido, sino simplemente una mujer liderando una industria que hizo fama. Yo creo que no hay machismo que le gane al conocimiento, cuando lo puedes demostrar y lo sabes demostrar. Y yo creo que ese ha sido mi caso muy, muy particular. Sí lo tuve que buscar y sí lo tuve que demostrar. Poder entender que no tenía que ser un mundo en manos de hombres.
Despite the odds, Sandra Fernandez has made it to the top within Mexico's inner wine circle.
Siendo mujer, si quieres ser líder en tu industria, yo estoy convencida que las mujeres tenemos que sacrificar muchas veces más que los hombres para poder mantener y jugar ese rol. Pero también he tenido que dejar cosas atrás, que me han pesado en su momento, pero al final se han compensado porque entendí que tenía el gran privilegio de poderme dedicar a lo que más me gusta. Mi caso fue querer ser una persona destacada y buscar por ser una gran profesionista en mi área y camino todos los días por ello. Si estás convencida que es tu pasión, entonces nada de lo que sacrifiques te va a importar.
Tal vez hacernos más fuertes en lo que sean flat breads. Yo llevaba más de 700 pesos de 3 camarones, el noodle chiquitito.
Tengo, qué cubiertos tengo, qué servilleta uso, qué saleros uso, qué ornamento tiene y así tiene que estar todo.
Ese sommelier tiene que saber que una botella de 200 pesos merece igual crédito, igual voz, igual explicación que una botella de 15,000 pesos o de 30,000 pesos. La cultura de vino en México ha crecido y el consumidor se ha vuelto un mejor consumidor, de mejor calidad. La cultura de vino en México ha ayudado mucho también a que México como país sea un mejor productor de vino. Hoy, de cada 10 botellas que se descorchan en el país, 3 son de vino mexicano.
For Sandra, it's about loving wine, treasuring its origin, and a region's singularity. But wine culture is also about good talks and moments of joy.
Es un gran tema que conecta con las personas, conecta con la historia, con la cultura, con la geografía. Yo siempre digo que cada vino cuenta una historia diferente. Al final se trata de que sea un vino que tú puedas probar y que te puedas encontrar con él y que te puedas encontrar que te agrada.
Sandra also runs a public relations agency that focuses on wine to promote the growing culture.
America's Now.
Finally, from Ecuador to the Caribbean, where fishermen still cast their lines in nylon nets to catch their fish. This tradition among the islanders is being challenged by the urban development around their fishing areas. We leave you with two men's quest for the big fish. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again next week for another edition of America's Now.